Greetings and welcome to our daily walk with Scripture for, February the 18th. And our conversation today will be in Leviticus 6, finishing it out, verse 27 verses of Leviticus 7. And then we get into Mark chapter 3, verses 7 through 30. Psalm 37, 1 through 11, and Proverbs chapter 10, verses 3 and 4. And we're going to spend a little bit of time in Mark, because Mark has some unique features in the Gospels, as all of them do. But Mark, really, we talked about this at the beginning, that Mark was designed for two things: to show the suffering servant, but also to show his authority as the Messiah, as the Son of God. And so the first as a matter of fact, the first chapters that we looked at had a lot of those authority aspects of it. When you look at chapter 1, you see Jesus demonstrating his authority over demons, his authority over sickness, his authority over or defilement or cleansing aspects of it, even his authority over sin in chapter 2. But then we see beginning some controversies in Mark, controversies with leadership and the challenges of leaders. And then in chapter 3, we see some interesting things that are unique to Mark, because we don't see these in the other Gospels. One of those is starting in chapter 3, verse 7, when we see the confessions of the demons. This is unique to Mark, but it's a great reminder of Jesus' authority over everything, including the supernatural. It wasn't just that Jesus had authority to heal sin. Jesus had authority over everything. So when the demons come in and they make these confessions, this is a big deal. And then it's immediately followed by Jesus's commissioning of the 12, and then rejection. And we see in verses 20 and past our reading for today, we're going to see really kind of the rejection of Jesus by a variety of people. First of all, he gets rejected by his own people. We see that in verse 20 and 21, where they look at him and they're like, he's lost his mind. This guy is nuts. Okay? And then we see it in the rejection of the leadership of Israel, when they talk about how he's just, you know what, forget it. He's not one of us. They say he's got authority, but he's not one of us. And then we see a response from Jesus and relationship with Jesus, because Jesus ultimately has to provide answers for these things that these people are saying. And Jesus provides a series of conversations and questions that, honestly, they really can't compete with. And so when Jesus looks at this and they say that he's possessed and he's by the prince, Jesus goes, how can Satan be against Satan? In other words, a house divided, it can't stand. If you've got rulers against rulers, it's not going to work. It's kind of like sibling rivalry. If you've got a bunch of siblings that are fighting over each other, it doesn't work. And so Jesus is challenging them, saying, this doesn't make any sense. And besides, if I was with Satan, why would I do the things that I've done? Why would I heal the sick and the lame? Wouldn't I want them to be sick and lame and hurt? And so really Mark really is trying to show us the authority by which Jesus stands, but also the rejection by which Jesus is ultimately going to face the cross. And so Mark is trying to marry these things together, and in the middle of it, he begins to set the stage for the legacy of Christ through the disciples, and he commissions them. And so when he calls to them, and they came, and he appointed 12 that he might send them out to preach and to have this very same authority. These are not small things, because most of the time when a rabbi teaches, they kind of teach, and then those disciples will go out, but they don't teach with the kind of authority that Jesus offered, and they don't offer the power that Jesus offered. And so Jesus allows the disciples to catch a glimpse of what it is that they were actually going to do. And I find it very interesting that, of course, in this roster is Judas Iscariot, who Mark puts a little clear note, says, who betrayed him. Jesus gave this authority to Judas as equal as the other 12. And so, again, this is a reminder to us of how we are to live our lives, that we can be in Jesus' inner circle and still not be following Jesus. And instead, we can end up like these crowds going, I don't know, Jesus is out of his mind. So as you look at Mark, look at these things. Where is his authority? How is it showing, and how is it demonstrating his authority? And how has Jesus been rejected, and why has Jesus been rejected? Okay, more conversation to be had another time. Talk to you later.